All right. Hello, everybody. Put on your thinking cap today, please. We've got some very, very interesting things to talk about. And you know what? Let me start by saying that not all of Torah is chronological. Did you realize that? An example. This week, the first word that we're going to talk about in Leviticus 10 says, then. It doesn't say then. It says and. I'm going to suggest that Nadab and Abihu died before the service that we did last week in chapter 9. We assume that this is afterwards because it's the next chapter. And it says then. But I'm going to make a case today that I think it's quite likely that they died almost immediately after they had finished their 7 days of sanctification, consecration. And on the 8th day, which is the day they died, before we did the service for Yehovah to cause him to come to his temple, they died. It's something that you have to read into it a little bit. But even in Yasher, we read about the first day, how they were consecrated, how they went through the service, and it says, on that very day. We assume that it's after Yehovah came. I think it's before Yehovah came that they actually died. I'll make a case for it as we go through this today. Nadab and Abihu. It says, and Nadab and Abihu. I would say, if you read it in the Torah, it says, and Aaron's seed. It doesn't even say Aaron's son. It says Aaron's seed, B'nai Aaron. It doesn't say Benim Aaron, B'nai Aaron. And Aaron's seed, Nadab and Abihu, each took a censer and put fire in it, put incense on it. And they brought, it says, strange fire before Yehovah. They put profane fire before Yehovah. The word is zor. Zor. Usually when we're talking about zor, we're talking about Gentiles coming close to Israel. But zor can also be Israel's seed coming into a place where they don't belong. Remember when we camped around the tabernacle? We had the tabernacle and the court in the middle of our camp. Then all around the tabernacle, we had Levi's seed, Gershom, Kohath, and Merari. They're all around it. The sons of Israel weren't permitted to just go to the tabernacle. I mean, they do bring offerings. How does that work? They can be called zor. We're going to see it. We'll see it. I don't know if we're going to see it in Numbers or if we're going to see it in Leviticus still. We may. But we're going to see where even Israelites can be called zor. This zor thing that they did brings zor fire before Yehovah's face. We asked last week, what makes it zor? V is Veronica in our class. What makes it zor? What did they do? What fire did they bring? What it says next, it says, which he had not commanded them. They're doing something that Yehovah did not command. So fire went out from Yehovah and devoured them, and they died before Yehovah's face. Actually, that face, I was doing this the last time we went through this. I don't think it's face. I would say died before Yehovah. The word before has to do with the face of Yehovah. So in a sense, putting face twice, I'm using the word twice. So I don't want to do that. Always learning, always changing, always trying to be as accurate as I can be. Now, look at my note here. I'm reading on the right here. I've been reading on the right pretty much this whole time. In Leviticus 16, which is the coverings chapter, the day of coverings, Yom Kippurim, not Yom Kippur, Yom Kippurim, the day of coverings. There are many things that are being covered on this day. But the very first thing that Moses is going to say when he's going to give them the instructions on Yom Kippurim is this. Look what it says. Now Yehovah spoke to Moses after the death of his two sons. After the death of his two sons, Aaron, the sons of Aaron, when they had offered profane fire before Yehovah died. Listen to what he says now. And Yehovah said to Moses, tell Aaron, your brother, not to come at just any time into the holy place inside the veil, before the mercy seat, which is on the ark, lest he die. For I will appear in a cloud. For I will appear in the cloud above the mercy seat. That makes me wonder if the boys had full intentions of going before the mercy seat. Now, obviously, they didn't make it. I don't even think they made it to inside the court. No, they didn't make it inside the tent. They didn't make it even into the holy place. Remember, there's the holy place and the most holy place. HaKodesh, HaKodeshim is the inside place. HaKodesh is the outside place, where the lampstand and the table and the altar of incense is at. I think they were headed in there, and Yehovah took them out. Now, let me talk about Aaron's seed for just a second. Here's where we first find out about Aaron's sons. This is Exodus 6:23. You know, some of these chapters, especially Exodus 6, talks about all of the Levite seed. Here it is. It says, Aaron took for himself Elisheva, the daughter of Aminadab, son of Nahshon, as wife. Nahshon was a man from Judah, sister of Nahshon as wife, and she bore him Nadab, Nadab and Abihu, Eleazar and Ithamar. Notice, these are the two oldest sons that are being killed. Even more distressing for poor Aaron and Moses, of course, but especially for Aaron, his firstborn son and his secondborn son. And it makes me wonder, what were they thinking? And as I looked at these chapters, listen to this. This is Exodus 24. Now he said to Moses, come up to Yehovah, you, Aaron, Nadab, and Abihu, and the 70 of the elders of Israel's seed. And worship from afar. They got to come up before Yehovah on the mountain and not the two other boys. Now it says, now take Aaron, your brother. This is Exodus 28. Now take Aaron, your brother, and his sons with him from among Israel's seed, that they may minister to me as priests, Aaron and his sons. So again, they're listing the boys in their birth order. These are the names of the sons of Aaron: Nadab, his firstborn, and Abihu, and Eleazar, and Ithamar. So again, I'm making a case. These are the oldest boys, but you know what? They got picked over the other two. I'm sorry, you guys. I'm suffering a head cold this week. It's been going on for a week now. I need to work tomorrow in the weather. Not looking forward to that. Were they cocky? Did they think that they somehow were special? And when they finished their consecration, did they just automatically fill their sensors and think that they're going to come in before Yehovah, doing something that Yehovah didn't tell them to do? I don't know. So next verse. So fire went out from Yehovah and devoured them, and they died before Yehovah. Let me go to my notes here. Oh, hold on just a second. I'm sorry. Even especially the great ones must fear Yehovah. The priests, they are, you got the high priest and then you got the priests. They're like Yehovah's number one and Yehovah's number two. But he took them out when they did something that they weren't supposed to do. They were adding, in a sense, to Yehovah's word. Doing something that they weren't supposed to do. Going somewhere that they weren't told to go. Well, Jeremiah says this: be astonished, O heavens, at this, and be horribly afraid. Be very desolate, says Yehovah, for my people have committed two evils. They have forsaken me, the fountain of living water, and hewed themselves cisterns, broken cisterns that can hold no water. He goes on, Jeremiah 2:19, same chapter. Your own wickedness will correct you, and your backsliding will rebuke you. Know, therefore, and see that it is an evil and bitter thing that you have forsaken Yehovah, your Elohim, and the fear of me is not in you, says my master, Yehovah of hosts. You know, there's a lot of people out there that do things that they are not meant to be doing. What's going on here? Let me fix this. There we go. Jeremiah 5. Hear this now, O foolish people without understanding. You have eyes and see not, and who have ears and hear not. Do you not fear me, says Yehovah? Will you not tremble at my presence? You know, the fear of Yehovah is not in most people. The Catholic Church has told us God is love. Has he not? Have they not? The New Testament. Where did we even get the New Testament, you guys? You should do some research on that. Who gave us the New Testament? Who added the New Testament to the Hebrew scriptures? The Hebrews? No, They didn't. It was the Catholic Church that did it. And wait till you find out about the Catholic Church in the very near future. You will be flabbergasted. I put even Moses and Aaron were disciplined for, and even Moses and Aaron were disciplined for disobedience. For disobedience. For disobedience. Yehovah's will be done, or there will be consequences. Yeah, even Aaron and his sons, Aaron. In fact, we're going to talk about that even at the end of this chapter. Moses and Aaron were disciplined for disobedience. Remember when they were supposed to strike or speak to the rock the second time, and they hit the rock? They didn't go into the promised land for that very reason. Yehovah's will be done, or there's going to be consequences. The last verse I have here says, Then Yehovah spoke to Moses and Aaron, because you did not believe me to hallow me in the eyes of Israel. See, this is the thing that I was just talking about. Therefore you shall not bring the assembly into the land which I have given them. They both had consequences, and they didn't come into the land. Oh my goodness. Well, look at the very next verse. It says, and Moses, I'm going to read it on right here, starting here. And Moses said to Aaron, This is what Yehovah spoke, saying, By those who come near me, his priests, I will be sanctified. Sanctified. Here's the word for sanctified. Kadesh. And before all the people's face, I shall be honored. Weighty. Kavod. And Aaron held his tongue. So we have to be, Aaron and his sons, are doing things for Yehovah. He will be sanctified. And before all the people's face, I will be honored. So letting the boys do what they were doing and the people seeing that go on doesn't cut it. He can't accept that. And they were destroyed for that very reason. Oh my goodness. We've got to learn the fear of Yehovah. Aaron's sons were killed by Yehovah on the very day that they had finished their seven-day consecration process to become priests before Yehovah. Why? Because they had done something that Yehovah had not told them to do. Men cannot add to Yehovah's word or take away from it. Do we add or take away from anything that he has commanded? See, this is where we're at today. Dare I say, we are following the golden calf of the modern age, doing many, many things that we are not supposed to do, adding to Yehovah's word, adding feast days to Yehovah's word, adding stuff to Yehovah's words that Yehovah did not command. Let me continue. What Yehovah did in killing these two men seems so severe. Doesn't it seem severe? But these men are to be leaders of Yehovah's people. Let me fix that. Of Yehovah's people. They are not allowed to add to what Yehovah said. They must just follow his instructions and set the example for everyone. Look at this. Yehovah killed 40% of his priesthood this day, the very day that he came to his tabernacle. first month, first day of the second year that we came out of Egypt, when the temple went up, or the tabernacle went up. I put my job is to always glorify Yehovah. I want to give Yehovah the glory. I had a dream last night. So strange. I hate Christmas. I despise Christmas. I don't like Christmas music. I don't like Christmas cards. I don't like anything Christmas. It's all about the golden calf. So I had this dream. I didn't get somebody a gift. And I'm thinking to myself, even in my dream, why would I get a gift for somebody for Christmas? I don't do anything. I don't even like Christmas music. It's about glorifying Yehovah, not this golden calf. Here, this is Joel. And it shall come to pass that whoever calls on the name of Yehovah shall be saved. Oh, which name? Yehovah's name. For in Mount Zion and in Jerusalem there shall be deliverance, as Yehovah has said, among the remnants whom Yehovah calls. It's about setting the example for the people. Now look at this. It says, then Moses called Mishael and Elzaphan, the sons of Uzziel, the uncle of Aaron, and said to them, come near, carry your brethren from before the sanctuary out of the camp. The sanctuary is this word right here, HaKodesh, the holy, from before the holy. I think they died just outside the Mishkan. From before the holy. Who are these guys? I always like to kind of figure how everything fits together. If you understand how everything fits together, you begin to get a better picture. Remember, it's always about line upon line, precept upon precept, here a little, there a little. So here we're talking about Mishael and Elzaphan. And so if you go back to Exodus 16, which I was talking about right here, you begin to find out who these people are. So here's Kohath's seed. Remember, it was Levi, then Kohath, then Amram. Kohath had Amram, verse 16 or 18 right here. Kohath's seed were Amram, Izkar, Hebron, and Uzziel. There's Uzziel. And the years of the life of Kohath were 130. So then it says, now Amram took for himself Jochebed. He had Aaron and Moses, and the years of his life. But now here's Uzziel. Then Uzziel's seed, Mishael, and Elzaphan, and Zitri. So here's Uzziel, and here's Mishael and Elzaphan, the two boys that are going to be doing this. They're not boys, they're men. Mishael and Elzaphan are cousins to Aaron and Moses. I put their kin are helping them with this great grief. They can't touch anything that's dead, including their sons and nephews. So these two men are stepping forward to bring these two boys outside the camp to bury them. I put their kin are helping them with their grief. Think of the emotions that Moses and especially Aaron must be suppressing. Now, also keep in mind that I think this happened before the surface. I'm going to make a case for that. Verse 5. So they went near and carried them by their tunics out of the camp. Were they being careful not to touch a dead body? Seems to me if you touch the tunic, you touch the dead body. But they carried him by their tunics outside the camp, as Moses had said. And Moses said to Aaron and Eleazar and Ithamar, his sons, do not uncover your heads, nor tear your clothes. Don't grieve for the dead, lest you die, and wrath come upon the people. Remember, this is the day that we want to have Yehovah come to his tabernacle and dwell with the people. We don't want to have the people be killed because of you. He says, but let your brethren, the whole house of Israel, bewail. We grieve. That's what we're talking about. The burning which Yehovah had kindled. Grieving for the dead, yeah. So you shall go out from the door of the tent of meetings, lest you die. You shall not go out from the door of the tent of meetings. Keep it says the tent of meetings. Now, they're not in the holy place. They're in the court of the tabernacle, the tent of meeting. Lest you die, for the anointing oil of Yehovah is upon you. And they did according to the words of Moses. Why is he saying this? Because they took the boys outside the camp. You'd want to go see where your son's going to be buried, but you can't. You've got other responsibilities, and the anointing of Yehovah is on you already. You have to stay in this place. Excuse me.
Oh, can't hear you. I can't hear you.
I'm sorry. Then Yehovah spoke to Aaron, saying, do not drink wine or intoxicating drink, you nor your sons with you when you go into the tabernacle of meeting, the tent of Moed, the Ohel Moed, the tent of meeting, lest you die. For it shall be a statute forever throughout your generations. Then you shall distinguish between, talking about drinking alcohol, intoxicating drink. They have to have a clear mind so that they can distinguish these things, the holy and the unholy, between the clean and the unclean. Here's the words that they're using for this. We men must have our wits about us when we draw near to Yehovah. The holy is Kodesh, between the Kodesh and the Kol. The Kol, the unholy, the profane, exposed. Profane is what the word is meaning. Common, profane, unholy is how it often gets translated. Between the Tehor, the clean, and they all have the definite article, the Kodesh, the Kol, the Tehor, the Tameh. Unholy, unclean. No, unclean. Let's say unclean. There we have unholy up here as Kol. Why is Yehovah saying this? Because profane and unclean men do not appear before Yehovah. Nadab and Abihu offered Zor fire before Yehovah. Was that considered profane? Yes. They even translated it profane up above. Zor, profane. Nadab and Abihu offered Zor fire before Yehovah. The priesthood is to remove or separate Israel's seed from all their uncleanliness. And it begins with his Kohanim. Period. Yehovah commands them, thus ye shall separate Israel's seed from their uncleanliness, that they may not in their uncleanliness, that they may not die in their uncleanliness when they defile my tabernacle that is among them. We have to set the examples, and then we have to help Israel's seed do the same thing. Verse 11. And that they may teach, well, here it is right here, that they may teach Israel's seed the statutes which Yehovah has spoken to them by the hands of Moses. We are the teachers of Israel. We are the examples of Israel for Israel. The Ezra seed. Men. And Moses spoke to Aaron and Eleazar and Ithamar, his sons who were left. He says, take the grain. Actually, they have all these extra words involved in this. Here's what it says. Take the grain that remains from Yehovah's fire. Remember last week, they took some grain mixed with oil and they threw it in the fire. Well, they didn't throw it all in the fire, so they're supposed to eat the rest of it. And eat it without leaven beside the altar, for it is most holy. They're supposed to eat it. He's going over some of the things that we did last week. If I had to think about this, it looks like the boys died before the service that brought Yehovah to his temple. And now this is a new time period where Moses is kind of going over what's happened after Yehovah's come. Think about that as we read this. And Moses spoke to Aaron and Eleazar and Ithamar, his sons who were left. Take the grain that remains from Yehovah's fire, that's what it actually says, and eat it without leaven beside the altar, for it is most holy. It says, then you shall eat it in the holy place. Where's the holy place? We already know it's in the court of the tabernacle, because it is your due and your son's due from Yehovah's fire. And your son's due from Yehovah's fire. This was which translation was that? I forget. Geneva. That was the Geneva translation. That's why it's got some strange spelling on the sons. But that's what it says. It is thy sons due from Yehovah's fire. That's exactly how they said it. That's what it says. For so I have commanded. 14. They put it totally different than what Yehovah says. I'm going to read it what Yehovah says in the Torah. It says, in a clean place. Is what it says. In a clean place. Eat it in a clean place. What do I have here? We're talking about the breast of the wave, and the thigh of the heave. Remember, one had to do with a gift, and I forget what the heave did. Let's look at it in the Torah. 14. They put the shoulder. It's the back, but it sounds like it's the back leg. It's the thigh. They're talking about the thigh. The thigh of the heave, the terumah. It's a present. It's a present. And you shall eat in a place that is clean. In a place that's clean. I think this is interesting because this means that they can take it home with them. Their sons and their daughters can eat it with them as long as they're all clean and they're eating it they're in their kitchen, they're in their tent. If your woman is in her menses, you're not going to be clean. The women went to another tent when they were in their menses because they didn't want to make the whole household unclean. It's got to be eaten in a clean place. Now, there's lots of reasons to make something unclean, but probably the most common one is a woman in her menses. So we're talking about the heave, the terumah, which is a present, and the other word that they used was, what was the other word? Is it even used in here? Wave, breast, the wave. They're calling it, we're going to wave it before Yehovah. Looks like it's not even in there. Oh, here. Oh, that's the Shalomim. Yeah, looks like it's not even in there. A lot of words get added. And the thigh of the heave offering. I didn't see heave offering there. You shall eat in a clean place. A clean place. They don't have to eat it in the holy place. They can eat it in a clean place. It's something they can take home. You sometimes wonder if the priests are eating all the food, what do they bring home to their family? Well, this is something that they can bring home to their family. This is from the slaughtered Shalomim. Look what it says. The breast of the wave and the thigh of the heave you shall eat in a clean place. Your sons and your daughters with you, for they are your due and your sons' due, which is given from, look what it says, from the sacrifices of the peace offering from, here's what it says, they are given to you from Israel's seeds, slaughtered Shalomim. Whenever Israel's seed brings a Shalomim, whether for a thank offering or whatever, a vow, a voluntary offering, they get the breast and they get the thigh. The priests as a whole get the breast. The priest that actually does the slaughter, puts the blood on the altar, gets the thigh. They can bring it home to their families. This is what their families are going to eat. So it says, from Israel's seeds, slaughtered Shalomim. So here it says again, the thigh, I think I wrote this out, the present. See, it's so confusing. Here we have heave. This is terumah, again, a present. The present of the thigh. And the wave, this is the, again, tenufah. This is, remember, this is a present. Terumah, a present. Tenufah is brandishing, undulating. It's the waving it before Yehovah. And the breast they shall bring with the fire's fat to wave before Yehovah. In other words, we're going to cut out the fat. The person who's making this slaughter is going to cut out the fat and the breast and the thigh. The priests are going to put the fat that is going to go on the fire, on the breast, on the wave, and the man is going to wave that before Yehovah. The fat then is going to go into the fire, and the breast and the wave, the breast is going to go into the bellies of all the priests, and the wave is going to go into the bellies of the priest who gave the fat before Yehovah's face. It shall be for thee and thy sons by statute forever, as Yehovah had commanded. Okay, this is talking about the dispensation of the meat that we're going to be working with. Now, keep in mind, last week, we did a shalamim of a bull. It looked like a large bull, and a goat or a lamb. And it looks to me that the people, after Yehovah came, ate it in the holy place. That's what it looks like. A celebration, perhaps? Oh man, wasn't that cool? Did you see that fire come down and eat up all the fat on the altar? Did you see the smoke fill the tabernacle? Oh my Elohim, it was great. I mean, you got to get excited about this. Let's have a celebration. We got lots of meat to eat. Now, look what it says. Then, probably says, and Moses made a careful inquiry about the goat of the sin offering. And there it was, burned up. The goat of the sin offering was burned up. Moses thinks that's wrong. I said, Moses thinks it's wrong. Could Moses be incorrect? Look what it says. Then Moses made a careful inquiry about the goats of the kata'ah. And there it was, burned up. And he was angry with Eleazar and Ithamar, the sons of Aaron, who were left, saying, why have you not eaten the kata'ah in the holy place? Well, look at this. Here's the instructions on the kata'ah. The priest who offers it for sin shall eat it. In the holy place it shall be eaten in the court of the tabernacle meetings. This is kind of what Moses is thinking. But it says, for the children of Israel, you shall speak, saying, any kid of the goats as a sin offering, or a calf, bull, a small bull, or a lamb, sheep, both of the first year without blemish as a burnt offering. Now, that doesn't really help us. Then he brought all the people's offering, and took all the people's offering, korban, and took the goat, which was the sin offering for the people, and killed it. This is what happened last week. Killed it for sin like the first one. Well, that makes us have to look at what the first one did. He killed it for sin like the first one. Now stay with me, because I know this is hard to understand if you don't dig in. So here now Moses is saying, why have you not eaten the kata'ah in the holy place, since it is most holy? And Yehovah has given it to you to bear, they put guilt. The word here is not guilt, it's avan, to bear the evil of the congregation. Or you could say the congregation's evil. To make atonement for them before Yehovah. Now, I think Moses is mistaken. Stick with me. It says this kata'at was not to be eaten. It was for the whole congregation. But the blood which had been brought, but the blood should have been brought inside. It was not to be eaten. It was supposed to be burned up, and it was burned up. But where they made their mistake was it was supposed to be brought inside. Look what it says. Here's our instructions for the kata'ah. I kind of condensed them so that we can see it quickly. This is an anointed for the anointed priest, and the first one that we did for sin offering, which we burned outside the camp. I'll show you that in a moment. Was for Aaron. The second one we did was for all the people. Now, here is the instructions for the anointed priest and for the whole congregation. This is concerning the kata'at, the sin offering. They did a young male without blemish. It is brought to the door of the tabernacle. I think it should have been a bull, not a kid of the goats that they brought. But here's what it says. The priest or the elders, for the priest or the elders representatives of the whole congregation. The priests, that's why we had the elders in there last week. Here, let me show you. This is all very important stuff. Who was in there? It says, it came to pass on the 8th day that Moses called Aaron, his sons, and the elders of Israel. And he said to Aaron, take for yourself a young bull for a kata'ah. And down here it says, and to the children of Israel you shall speak, saying, take a kid of the goats for a kata'ah. That's the 2 sin offerings that we did last week. This is what Moses is talking about with them this very moment. So let me go back to where I was. We're going to come back to this chapter. So the elders for the whole people are going to lay their hands on this kata'ah, which happens to be a goat for kata'ah. But what are they going to do? They're going to bring this. The priest places his blood upon the horns. No, the priest sprinkles the blood 7 times. No, I got to start here. The anointed priest, this is Aaron, takes some of the blood into the tabernacle. Aaron's going to sprinkle the blood 7 times on or near the veil. May have been on the veil. I tend to think it was on the ground. Otherwise, you're going to have a mess of a veil in the future. The priest places the blood upon the horns of the golden altar. And the priest pours out the remaining blood on the base of the brazen altar. Do you hear what's going on? Let's go back to where we were. Oh, I guess we are there. Yes, okay, 10. He's concerned that they were supposed to eat the kata'ah. But clearly, they were supposed to do this, what it says. The rest of the bullock is burned outside the camp. No one eats the meat. If it was for a sin offering for Aaron, the high priest, or the elders, as a representative of the whole congregation, you don't eat it. What they do, they put the blood in the wrong place. They put the blood on the bronze altar outside, and then burnt the meat. They were supposed to burn the meat, but they weren't supposed to put it on the bronze altar. They were supposed to put it on the golden altar. Let me go back to Aaron, that last chapter again. I'm trying to keep my place here so I can go back and forth. Here's what Aaron did. Okay, he says, Aaron therefore went to the altar and killed the calf of the kata'ah, which is for himself. It was for himself. What he's supposed to do when it's for himself? He's supposed to bring the blood inside. Then the sons of Aaron brought the blood to him, and he dipped his finger in the blood and put it on the horns of the altar and poured the blood on the base of the altar. He's putting it on the bronze altar. He's putting it on the wrong altar. That's what he did wrong. But look, it says, but the fat and the kidneys and the fatty lobe from the liver of the kata'ah, he burned in the altar as Yehovah commanded. Now look what he says. The flesh and the hide he burned with fire outside the camp. That was right. What did he do wrong? He put the blood in the wrong place. Now, look at the sin offering that he did for the people. And he brought the people's offering and took the goat, which was the kata'ah for the people. What do you do for the people? You're going to give it. You're going to put the blood inside the tent on the other altar, the bronze on the altar of incense, the horns of the altar of incense. He brought the people's offering, korban, and took the goat, which was the kata'ah for the people, and killed it for a kata'ah like the first. He did it like the first. Yeah, that's all it says. So you have to go get what he did for the first. He did it wrong. I hope you're seeing this. Let me go back. Yes, here we are. One more. 17. He says, see, this is Aaron, I think. Or maybe this is Moses. See, the blood was not brought inside the holy place. It wasn't brought inside the holy place. Indeed, you should have eaten it in the holy place. What? This doesn't make any sense at all. The blood should have been brought into the holy place. Yes, that's true. Indeed, you should have eaten it in the holy place as I commanded. Wrong. He's wrong. If you bring the blood inside, you don't eat it. You got to put it outside and burn it outside the camp. And Aaron said to Moses, look, this day they have offered their kata'ah and their olah before Yehovah. And such things have befallen me. What has befallen him before they offered their kata'ah? Did his sons die before he offered these two sin offerings? I think so. I think it confused him. I think he realizes the blood should have been brought inside, but knows that it was not supposed to be eaten. If I had eaten it, the sin, the kata'ah, would not have been accepted in the sight of Yehovah. What's he saying? Here, I've got a note about it. Let's read the note. This kata'ah was not to be eaten, nor was the one that was made for Aaron. No, they were supposed to both be burned outside the camp. Aaron actually failed in not bringing the blood into the tabernacle for himself and for the people. That's where we made a mistake. Once the blood was on the brazen altar, it was too late. He had already done wrong. If he had eaten it, which he wasn't supposed to do, he would have committed a double wrong. Do you understand what's going on here? He's saying that if he had eaten it, would Yehovah have come in all his glory? Look what it says. Let me just finish this verse. And Aaron said to Moses, look at this. They have offered their kata'ah. Look at this. They have offered their kata'ah and their olah before Yehovah. And such things have befallen me. And such things have befallen me. If I had eaten the kata'ah today, would it have been accepted in the sight of Yehovah? Like I say, he would have done a double wrong because the blood was supposed to be brought inside and then burned outside the camp, which he did. If he had eaten it, he would have done a double wrong, not brought it inside the tent and eaten it. because you don't do that for the priest or for the people. Double wrong. I'm reading on the right here again now. He is saying that if he had eaten it, would Yehovah have come in his glory? It appears to me that the boys may have brought the strange fire before Yehovah, how do I say that? Brought the fire before Yehovah, maybe I gotta say it like this, before the service. That's where I want it underlined and not here. They brought the blood before Yehovah, before the service that took place in chapter 9. This is what I think. This is what this verse makes me think is going on. Since Aaron made an honest mistake in not bringing the blood into the sanctuary, it is really a moot point. It's too late to fix it now. You know, Moses is thinking, well, we could eat it now. No, we're not supposed to eat it. Really, Moses is making a mistake as well. They were never supposed to eat these kapta'at. No, they were never supposed to eat it. And since Yehovah did come, the day was a success in that respect, despite the loss of his sons. This shows me that Yehovah is forgiving towards the man that is, towards the man who is trying to do right, but still fails to do it perfectly. Didn't say the woman, the man. Now, listen to this. Are we men doing our best to serve only Yehovah as he expects us to? That's the question. Are we doing our best to serve Yehovah as he expects us to? Or are we like Nadab and Abihu, who perished before Yehovah by doing what we decide is right in our hearts? And I'm saying this just a few days before Christmas. Where's Christmas in the Torah? Are we doing things that we're not supposed to do? What is the consequences for that? Well, the last verse says, so Moses heard what he said, heard that, he was content. I think Moses realized that he made a mistake too. It was supposed to be brought inside the tabernacle. They both made a mistake, but it doesn't look like they had consequences, unless you call Aaron's sons being killed. But that seems to me that it was beforehand. It may have been after. I guess that's really moot, but it sounds like Aaron was a little bit troubled and may have mixed some things up because he was so stressed out about losing his boys. That's my thoughts. Well, next week, we are going to talk about clean food. We are done with most of this priesthood stuff. This has been these 11 chapters, these 10 chapters. They're kind of difficult chapters to get through because they're information that we don't normally talk about. Well, like I say, next week we're going to start some more, I think, more interesting chapters. There's going to be a couple hard chapters that deals with leprosy and the leprosy of a house in coming weeks. Those are a little bit harder to get through. But next week we're going to talk about clean food. That'll be fun. All right, you guys. Thank you for joining me, and we'll see you next time. Yehovah bless you. Bye now.